Hi, my name is Thomas. Nice to meet you. I'm 32 years old. I live in Berlin, in Germany, and this is the first time I'm recording a video of myself, and then I will upload it to the internet. So it's a new experience for me, I guess. And I want to talk a little bit about a topic that I've been researching for nearly 10 years, which is about psychological types and typologies in general. Just to give a brief introduction of myself, I've been interested all my life pretty much in music and film. And over the years, I've studied other topics, with one of the main ones being climate change, which I think will be the biggest topic of this century and beyond. This is something that's still not that dominant in the public, but it will be, and it will shape our future in fundamentally different ways. I have no doubts about that. And typology is essentially a topic that I've also been very frequently spending my time with, and I might have some unique perspectives that I want to share here, but I want to give a brief introduction on this topic first, so people are all on the same page. Essentially, in the last century, psychiatrist Carl Jung wrote a book called Psychological Types, in which he proposed the idea that people process information and the world in fundamentally different ways according to types that they have. The most interesting chapter of this book is chapter 10, in which he describes 8 cognitive functions, which I think are the most interesting aspects of typology. And he describes these functions in detail, and basically gives an explanation how he views how people perceive reality, and he also proposed 4 dichotomies based on that, which are called thinking, feeling, intuition, sensing, rationality, irrationality, and introversion, extroversion. I'm not a follower of Carl Jung, but I find his ideas very interesting. A problem that typology faces, which I think cannot be solved in a subjective field like psychology, is the lack of empiricism and objectivity, because you cannot really prove that these types exist. And what's really important to keep in mind is that Carl Jung originally only proposed 8 types. Essentially later, different kind of typology systems emerged from his ideas, which categorize people into 16 types. There's one system from Eastern Europe that I've been following a lot, which is called socionics. But there are other versions that are popular in America and other regions of the world. And all of them essentially view the 16 types or the number 16 as the basis for their systems, I guess. And what sets socionics apart in the sense is that it kind of works more with models and has a more scientific bent to it. And while I've spent a lot of time researching this topic and even translating a lot of sources into German, over the years I've became very skeptical even of these systems. But I think even with the lack of empiricism, it can still give some insights into the human psyche and how people operate in the world and why things are the way they are essentially. That's it for the introduction. I want to mention that I've already written an article about my own opinion on the 8 cognitive functions. I don't want to describe them in depth in this video, but I will put a link into the description and you can read my own view on the types and a little bit about socionics. And essentially, I think the future for typology must be that these cognitive functions need to be described more in depth, and they shouldn't contradict each other. And this is probably a way that empiricism might be possible, but I'm unsure about that. So another aspect that I think is a little bit overlooked, essentially because we have 16 types, people have developed their own views about who they are and what they are supposed to represent. And I think many of these views on them are basically wrong. I think typology often gets muddled with other aspects of reality. And for examples, I could give a political orientation in which specific types are correlated with left-wing or right-wing views. I think this is wrong. I think every type of the 16 can develop different kinds of political orientations, and the only thing I'm suspecting is that it has some genetic influence or elements to it, but you cannot really say that one type prefers one direction or the other. The other thing that I think plays a big role is genetic traits, objective traits, height, intelligence, attractiveness, also personal experiences, direct life circumstances and experience that you make, which shape your personality. This is also something that I want to highlight clearly. I think type and personality are not the same, although they frequently get muddled together. I think at least how I view the types, I think they are just the broadest definitions possible. They can only be this way because if you go into specifics and you have two people of the same type and the descriptions contradict each other, your definition is essentially only false. And so you have to be careful about what you associate with type in general, and what are personality characteristics that have other reasons for existing, basically. And in the future, I want to write more articles. I just record this video because I think it's a more interesting way of basically showcasing information and maybe sharing it with others who can discuss it with their own insights. But I'm very, very convinced now that personality and type are not the same, and that typology is basically infected with stereotypes and unbiased descriptions. Also, even the theory I'm researching, which is socionics, which I think is, at least for now, the best model that exists in that regard. But even with that, I have a lot of criticism, essentially. Then there's another topic I want to mention. I said that there are 8 cognitive functions that Jung proposed, and I've spent a lot of time focusing on one function which interested me the most, which is called introverted intuition, which is also called in socionics, interestingly, intuition of time, which is essentially the perception of how reality, based on things you have gathered in the moment, you are essentially theoretically able to predict how the future will play out, or you are looking back into the past to gain information. And how would I say it? Focus on how things are going to develop. I've basically made the observation, and this was something that I've gradually realized over the years, that introverted intuition basically dominates the public sphere. It's a bit odd for me to say, and I wanted to create a description about this in the future, but I now think essentially that all public figures, politicians, renowned artists, athletes, and other kinds of political or media personalities operate based on introverted intuition. And I've been wondering why that is. Because initially I didn't think so, but the theory I have is that humans essentially have existed for roughly 300,000 years now. And 300 years ago, they've discovered something that shaped the way we live in a fundamentally different way. And this is fossil fuels, basically coal, gas, oil. And especially after World War II, in the last 80, 90 years, these things have completely changed the way we live. And it seems to me that one type is especially or exceptionally good at using this resource to get ahead in society. I want to give an explanation of what I think introverted intuition is. Like I said, I've described it in an article of mine, but the 5 traits that I think this function has is, on one hand, long-term strategic thinking within a field of interest. It's important to note, like I said, that political opinions are not associated with type, and I think people have certain kinds of archetypes in their mind when they think about types. With introverted intuition, it's often like a philosophical kinds of person or poetical type of person. But what I've noticed is that people can use a certain function and be entrepreneurs, athletes, and so on. Maybe I should mention the other traits first, and then I can explain more. A concept that I've been seeing over and over again is perfectionism and obsession with introverted intuition. I've been trying to figure out why that is. It seems that these kinds of people go very, very deep into a topic, and due to this end up at the top of certain structures that they choose to participate in. It's important to note that this doesn't apply to every person of this specific type, but a person that has accentuated strategic thinking, if they choose to pursue some kind of goal, they are just the most likely to get ahead in that way. Another concept that I've been frequently confronted with is essentially hope, visions, dreams, and memories. These 4 things are so dominant in media, and if you pay attention to them, you will see them all the time. And there's also another concept that I think is one of the most frequent words that are used by types with introverted intuition, which is called truth. Truth is probably the most common word used by this function. I've been wondering why it is. I suspect that introverted intuition basically looks at various kinds of informations and then condenses it into one single conviction that a person develops. And from my perspective, this kind of truth is very subjective from person to person. And not only do I think that introverted intuition is the most dominant function in our society right now, I think it's only one type that dominates the public sphere. because there are 2 types that use introverted intuition, as there are 16. And I think this type is called lyric in socionics and INFJ in other systems. And it's a bit odd to come to this conclusion. I want to explain it more in future articles, but I wanted to get it out, to have people discuss it and share their own experiences, because I even think that the most likely person to even watch this video has this type, as it seems that this one is especially interested in novelty of any kind. Some people have tried to associate intuition with a big 5 trait called openness to experience. I don't think that's the case. I actually think even intuitive types can be very conservative, very reluctant to new information, and it seems to be related to other traits. I would advise everyone to see typology and the 16 types as just one layer of a person, and there are various other layers, which I think will make it very difficult to find an objective way to identify types. And I also think that several perspectives can change quite radically depending on circumstances. And you will have to decide how you want to use it, because I think the only way it should be used is to try to gain an understanding of other people and improve their lives, but also you're kind of always at risk of abusing knowledge. That has always been the case, but the one thing I want to say is I find it very likely that we will do nothing about climate change, because since this one type dominates essentially the public discourse, I find it hard to believe that we will change the way we operate as a species. And it doesn't really matter what political system we developed and so on, if it's communism or capitalism or whatever. If you look throughout the world, none of these systems are compatible with a very emission-free lifestyle and so on. And as far as it seems to me, it's we discovered fossil fuels 300 years ago. We opened Pandora's box basically, and now we are going to use them till we can't use them anymore. We've essentially created complex interconnected systems throughout the world. And yeah, it's kind of sad to think about it this way. I think my perspective isn't so odd in itself when you look at it this way, I guess. I don't know what you could do about it, but maybe other people have then more ideas. And yes, this is something that has been on my mind for a while, so I wanted to get it out. I hope I didn't explain it in a too scattered way, because if you're new to typology, you're probably not going to understand much of it, but I highly recommend to at least read chapter 10 of Carl Jung's book and look into the article I've written, and I'm going to write other articles in the future, maybe upload some videos if I'm doing that. And other than that, I can only recommend to keep your head high and accept the way things are now, as we are heading into quite a bleak future from my point of view. But I think there's really nothing other than, I don't know, trying to look at life in a positive way or so. Try to spend time with people you love and connect with other people, and you don't even need to understand the types to do that. I don't think they matter too much. There's also an interesting thing that socionics basically claims, according to theory, it tries to define how people get along with each other according to their types. So you essentially have 16 types and 16 intertype relationships. That's how they call it. And they describe how each person gets along with each type. And I should have maybe talked about it in the middle section of this video, but I'm going to briefly mention it now. The descriptions about type interactions are quite detailed, but I don't think they match reality too much. I think what influences how other people are getting along is their political conviction or way they perceive reality. And I think for people to get along, people need to be kind of similar to each other to basically have a success of long-term interactions. And socionics in theory advises to look for a very different kind of type to your own as a long-term partner. But that's, I guess, a discussion for another time. That's it for now. And see you again somewhere in the future, and bye.